It's late now, and you finally reach this quiet place. A small corner of the night where no one needs anything from you, and nothing has to be solved. You've made it here, just as you are, with the day still humming in your chest, and the past whispering in its familiar way. You don't have to push it away. You're only being welcomed, gently, into the dark softness of evening. Let your jaw slip a little, as if unbuttoning a tight collar at the end of a long day. Let your shoulders fall, like a coat sliding off after being carried too long. Feel your hands loosen, fingers uncurling without effort. Nothing to grip, nothing to hold on to right now. Your eyes can grow heavier, the way a room slowly dims when the sun steps down behind the trees. And your breath, just let it smooth itself out, like ripples settling on a quiet pond. Some of you came here carrying the weight of work, numbers that wouldn't line up, faces that stayed in your mind long after the meeting or the call ended. Some of you may still be holding conversations you wish had gone differently, words you wish you'd said, or moments you wish you hadn't replayed again and again. Someone here might have walked all day with the subtle ache of responsibility, family needing you, money stretching thin, a calendar that fills itself faster than you can breathe. It's all right. All of that can be set down now, like slipping your shoes off at the door and leaving them in a tidy pair to wait for morning. Feel the day closing behind you, the way a soft door closes in an old house. Quiet, steady, without hurry. Nothing slams, nothing demands. It all just settles, like a jar of dust that has stopped being shaken. This space is simple, made only of breath and darkness, and the gentle truth that you don't have to hold everything at once. The past can drift to the edge for now. Not exiled, not fought, just allowed to fade around the edges, like a photograph left near a window, softening day by day. I've heard this question many evenings. Why does my mind replay the same scenes when I try to rest? Others wonder why the quiet hours open old doors they thought had stayed closed. You're not the only one who feels that gentle tug, pulling you back to moments already lived. Here, in this shared room of night, you don't need answers, only gentleness, only the slow release that happens when you stop trying to force anything. If being here helps you settle a little, you're welcome to subscribe. So the next time your thoughts feel heavy, the path back to this quiet place is easy to find. And if you feel like it, you can leave a simple 1 if this helped, or 2 if it didn't quite land. I read every one. Now, with the lamps of the mind growing dim, let's step softly into the first story of the night. Story 01. The Buddha was walking near Rajagaha in the late afternoon, the light turning gentle, the air cooler after a long hot day. A young man approached him with tight shoulders and a worn, tired face, the way people look when they've carried too many expectations for too long. He had been trying to please everyone, his father, his employer, even his friends, and none of it ever felt enough. His mind spun at night, replaying mistakes, imagining criticism. He told the Buddha he felt like he was pulled in every direction. The Buddha listened quietly, without rushing him. Then he spoke about a lute. When the strings are too tight, they snap when they're too loose. The music falls flat. Only a steady, balanced tension lets the song come through. Something eased in the young man. His breath slowed. He wasn't fixed, but he wasn't as tangled. You might notice moments like this yourself, when every demand feels urgent, when you try to be perfect for everyone. Maybe you felt that tightness in your chest, that fear of disappointing someone. Balance makes room to breathe. You're allowed to be human. Tonight, take 1 minute to feel your body in bed. Let your shoulders settle. Let your jaw loosen. Whisper quietly to yourself. Just enough effort. Every. Story 02. One morning, near Jetavana, the Buddha sat beneath a tree while villagers gathered with their everyday worries. A farmer came forward, dust still on his clothes. His voice trembled. His crops were failing. His children were arguing. And money felt thinner each month. He wanted the Buddha to fix it all. The Buddha reminded him that everyone has problems, some urgent, some not, but no one gets a life without them. The farmer grew frustrated, asking, "Then what's the point of coming here?" The Buddha said that while we cannot avoid all problems, we can change how tightly we grip them. The farmer's face softened, as if he finally heard something he'd known all along. The fields, the work, the family, they were still his, but he no longer held them like a man drowning. Maybe you've carried that same weight: bills, deadlines, family tension. Maybe you've wished someone would lift it all off your shoulders. A lighter grip makes the load feel different, and different can be enough to keep going. For 1 minute, imagine setting down one worry beside your bed, like placing a heavy bag on the floor. It will still be there tomorrow, but you don't need to hold it tonight. Story 03. Under the shade of a broad sal tree, the Buddha greeted a monk whose face burned with anger. The monk had been insulted by a villager and couldn't let it go. He replayed the words again and again, feeling them cut deeper each time. The Buddha told him about travelers who refuse a gift. If they do not accept it, the gift returns to the giver. Insults, he said, work the same way. If you don't take them into your heart, they fall back to the one who offered them. The monk felt something loosen inside. The insult didn't vanish, but it no longer owned him. Maybe you know this feeling, someone's sharp comment echoing through your mind while you're trying to sleep. Maybe you've held on to someone's bad day as if it belonged to you. You don't have to accept every gift handed to you. Some things can be left unopened. Tonight, place a hand on your chest for a moment. Feel the warmth. Let it remind you that not everything thrown at you deserves a home inside you. Story 04. In the stillness near Savatthi, a worried father knelt before the Buddha. His son had disobeyed him again, and anger had fled so quickly he felt ashamed afterward. He wanted control over his child, over the household, over his own temper. The Buddha spoke of a storm. Winds rise, rain lashes, trees bend, but no storm lasts. Anger is like that, strong, frightening, and temporary. When a person stops feeding it, it passes more quickly. The father exhaled, long and shaky, as if finally naming the feeling helped it move. Perhaps you've had days when frustration hit you faster than you expected. Family tension, unmet expectations, words spoken too sharply. Storms pass when we don't chase them. Letting go lets them fade sooner. For 1 quiet minute, picture your irritation as a storm cloud drifting across the sky. Watch it move. Don't fight it. Just let it drift. Story 05. A woman approached the Buddha with worry carved into her face. She worked from sunrise to dusk, caring for her elderly parents, her husband, her children. Her heart was generous, but exhaustion had emptied her. She whispered that she felt invisible, as if her effort went unnoticed. The Buddha reminded her that just as a lamp lights a room without asking for praise, quiet goodness has its own shine. The world may not always applaud, but kindness leaves a warmth that stays. A tear slipped down her cheek, not from sadness, but from feeling seen. Maybe you've had days when you give and give, only to feel overlooked. When your labor at work or home blends into the background, your quiet goodness matters, even when no one mentions it, especially then. Tonight, place your hand on your belly and feel one slow rise and fall. Let it be a small thank you to yourself for everything you carried today. Story 06. In the bamboo grove, a merchant visited the Buddha with a mind full of fear. Bandits had been seen on the road, and he worried for his goods, his workers, his future. Fear sat on his chest like a stone. The Buddha spoke gently about how fear grows in the empty spaces we leave unexamined. When we pause, breathe, and look directly at what scares us, the mind steadies. Clarity rises where panic once lived. The merchant felt a bit lighter, not fearless, but steadier. You might know that heavy, breath-tightening fear, unexpected bills, health concerns, job insecurity. Fear can fill the whole room if we let it. Steady looking softens fear. Clarity grows where we make space for it. For 1 minute, name your fear silently, not with judgment, just awareness. Then feel your feet on the bed or floor. Let the ground remind you that you're here, safe for now. Story 07. A monk once came to the Buddha frustrated with his wandering mind. During meditation, his thoughts raced toward work he used to do. Old mistakes, imagined futures. He felt like a failure. The Buddha told him the mind is like a young calf. It wanders everywhere at first, but with gentle guidance, it learns to return, not through force, but through patience. The monk's shoulders dropped. He realized he didn't need to win against his own thoughts. Just guide them back with kindness. Maybe your mind jumps toward deadlines, regrets, worries waiting in your inbox. Maybe you blame yourself for not being calmer. A wandering mind isn't broken. It's just learning its way home. For 1 minute, whenever your mind drifts, simply notice it and guide it back to the feeling of your breath touching your nose or lips. No force, just return. Story 08. Near the city gate, a man with great wealth came to the Buddha. Despite his riches, he felt restless. He feared losing what he had built, feared competition, feared change. His fists tightened as he spoke. The Buddha shared an image of holding water. Grip it tightly, and it spills through your fingers. Hold it gently, and it rests in your palm. Peace comes not from control, but from ease. The man felt his hands soften. He realized he was clinging so hard that nothing felt secure. Maybe you've felt that tense grip yourself over savings, a job, a relationship, trying to secure everything until nothing feels steady. Gentle holding brings more peace than tight control. Tonight, unclench your hands. Rest them on the blanket. Feel how different ease feels from gripping. Story 09. One evening, a grieving mother, Kisa Gotami, came to the Buddha holding her child who had died. Her heartbreak was a storm no words could calm. She begged for a remedy. The Buddha sent her to find mustard seeds from a home untouched by death. She searched every house. Every door held its own story of loss. By the end, she understood that grief is part of the human path, shared by all. Her breath grew softer. Her pain was still there, but she no longer felt alone in it. Maybe you, too, carry quiet grief, lost relationships, lost time, lost dreams you never speak aloud. You're not alone in your sorrow. Human hearts heal by knowing they're connected. For 1 minute, place your hand over your heart and breathe gently. Imagine someone else out there doing the same, also healing, also human. Story 10. The Buddha once met Angulimala, a feared bandit whose life had collapsed into violence and regret. When the Buddha stood calmly before him, Angulimala's rage cracked open into sorrow. He asked if change was possible for someone like him. The Buddha told him that a person who turns toward wisdom and compassion creates a new path. Even if the old one was dark, past actions cannot be undone. But the future can be shaped differently. Angulimala wept. His breath steadied for the first time in years. Maybe you've carried regret too, words spoken in anger, choices made under stress, times you weren't at your best. You are more than your worst moment. You can begin again, even quietly, even tonight. For 1 minute, think of one small kindness you can offer tomorrow, something gentle, doable. Let it be your first step on a fresher path. Story 11. Early one morning near the coastline, the Buddha passed through a quiet village where fishermen were just pulling in their boats. A wandering ascetic named Bahia ran to him, breathless, consumed by fear that he might not have much time left in life. His mind was always racing, always trying to secure peace by achieving more, mastering more, proving more. The Buddha saw the urgency in him, the way a person looks when they've been carrying fear for years. He told Bahia that true calm doesn't wait for the perfect moment. It begins the instant we stop chasing every thought and start seeing things simply as they are. Bahia felt a rare stillness wash over him. Even his breath softened, as if his chest had been tight for decades. Maybe you've had nights when the clock feels loud, when time feels short, when your mind keeps telling you that you're behind. Peace isn't found by running faster. It's found by stopping the chase. For 1 minute, let your attention rest on the simplest thing, the feeling of your body touching the bed. Let it be enough. Story 12. At Kosambi, 2 groups of monks were arguing over a tiny rule. What started as a small disagreement had grown into stubbornness, pride, and sleepless frustration. They avoided each other, spoke harshly, and let the tension cling to them like heat on a summer day. The Buddha visited and reminded them that anger spreads like a spark in dry grass. He urged them to remember the bond they once shared, the friendship, the shared purpose, the compassion beneath their quarrel. Slowly, their shoulders lowered. The silence grew softer. The monks realized the issue wasn't worth the energy they were burning. Maybe you've had conflicts that swallowed more time and emotion than they deserved. Family arguments, workplace tension, misunderstandings that spiraled. Harmony often begins when someone softens first, and softening is never weakness. Tonight, think of one conflict in your life. For 1 minute, imagine the edge of it softening, like ice melting at the corners. Story 13. Queen Malika once approached the Buddha after a painful argument with her husband, King Pasenadi. She felt misunderstood, blamed for something she hadn't done, her heart heavy from the sting of unfair words. The Buddha explained that each person sees the world through their own conditions, mood, stress, history, fear, just as water reflects differently depending on the light. People react from the stories they're caught in. Malika breathed easier. She realized the king's harshness came from his own burdens, not her worth. Maybe you've had moments when someone's tone cut too sharply, or when a coworker or loved one reacted from their stress, not from truth. People reflect their own weather. Not all storms are about you. For 1 minute, picture someone's harsh words as clouds passing through their sky, not yours. Let them drift on. Story 14. In the monastery near Rajagaha, a sick monk lay alone. The smell of illness kept others away, and he felt abandoned, ashamed, and unworthy. One day the Buddha entered, saw the state he was in, and without hesitation began washing the monk himself. He reminded the others that caring for the sick is like caring for him, that compassion is not an idea, but a simple, human gesture. The monk cried quietly as his body and heart were tended with kindness. His breath eased, his loneliness softened. Maybe you've had days when you felt unseen, or when exhaustion made you feel less valuable, or when no one noticed how hard things were for you. Compassion heals in ways medicine can't. Being cared for is part of the path. Tonight, for 1 minute, place a hand on your own arm. Let the warmth remind you that you deserve care too. Story 15. Badya, once a prince, became a monk, but still carried a deep fear of losing what he had left behind: status, comfort, security. One morning the other monks heard him whisper, "Ah, what happiness!" While resting beneath a tree, he explained to the Buddha that in the stillness of the forest, he finally felt safe, not because life guaranteed anything, but because he no longer clung so tightly to what could disappear. The Buddha acknowledged this gentle shift, the kind that happens quietly over time. Maybe you've known that fear worrying about finances, reputation, or the fragile structures you build to feel secure. Safety grows when clinging loosens. Peace opens when fear stops gripping. For 1 minute, breathe into your belly and say softly, "In this moment, I am safe enough to deuce over reses." Story 16. Rahula, the Buddha's son, approached him one day, eager to understand honesty, discipline, and how to live wisely. The Buddha handed him a bowl of clear water, then poured out a little of it onto the ground. He asked Rahula to notice how easy it was to lose what was once full. Rahula understood. Truthfulness and integrity are just as delicate. When we distort things, even small things, the heart feels polluted. Something settled inside him, like a young tree straightening in the wind. Maybe you felt uneasy after hiding your feelings, bending the truth to avoid conflict, or keeping something inside that weighed on you. Integrity clears the mind. Honesty lightens the chest. For 1 minute tonight, whisper one truth to yourself, just one, something your heart is relieved to admit. Story 17. A proud Brahmin once confronted the Buddha, furious because his teachings were attracting attention. He shouted insults, expecting anger in return, but the Buddha remained calm, his face soft, his breathing steady. The Brahmin eventually grew tired of his own rage. The Buddha explained gently that anger held onto is only suffering for the one who carries it. Letting go frees both people. The Brahmin's expression shifted, the fire leaving his eyes as he realized he had been burning himself. Maybe someone's anger has landed on you recently, a co-worker's frustration, a partner's stress, a stranger's harshness. You don't have to pick up every flame thrown at you. Your calm is your shield. For 1 minute. Imagine placing a cool hand on the center of your chest. Let the warmth soothe the places where someone else's fire tried to land. Story 18. Anathapindika, the great supporter of the Buddha's community, visited him weighed down by financial losses and business setbacks. His mind was full of worry. How would he care for his family? Support the monastery. Keep his workers paid? The Buddha encouraged him to focus on generosity of the heart rather than the size of his wealth. Kindness given sincerely holds more value than anything counted in coins. Anathapindika felt his breath ease. He realized that even in hard times, he still had compassion, patience, and integrity to offer. Maybe money has been tight for you too. Maybe bills, inflation, or unexpected expenses keep you awake. Generosity isn't measured by amount. It's measured by sincerity. Tonight, think of one small kindness you can offer tomorrow. No cost. Just warmth. Let it soften the edges of worry. Story 19. A monk once complained to the Buddha about insects that bit him during meditation. He grew irritated, resentful, and blamed the forest itself for making practice impossible. His mind felt scattered and angry. The Buddha reminded him that discomfort is part of being alive. When we resist it fiercely, the pain doubles. When we meet it with steadiness, the mind becomes spacious, not cramped. The monk let out a long breath and felt the tight knot inside him loosen. Maybe you've had irritations, small tasks, loud noises, messy homes, co-workers' habits that pile up until you feel overwhelmed. Patience is a quiet strength. It softens what used to feel sharp. For 1 minute, picture one irritation melting slightly, just enough to breathe around it. Story 20. One day, Ananda asked the Buddha whether good friends and supportive people were half of the holy life. The Buddha corrected him gently, saying good friendship is the whole of it, because with supportive company, the heart grows steady, generous, and brave. Ananda felt his chest warm with understanding. He realized how deeply our surroundings shape our peace. Maybe you've felt this too, how certain people drain you, while others steady you. How companionship can make even hard days bearable. Good company nourishes the mind. You don't have to walk alone. Tonight, think of one person who brings ease into your life. For 1 minute, send them a quiet wish for rest and peace. Let the warmth ripple through your own heart. Story 21. One evening near Jetavana, the Buddha walked slowly along the monastery path as a monk approached. Shoulders tense, eyes full of frustration. He felt discouraged because no matter how hard he tried meditating, studying, following rules, his mind felt wild and uncooperative. Like trying to calm a restless animal, the Buddha listened quietly, then reminded him that just as a farmer cannot force a field to grow faster, the mind also softens only with steady, gentle care, effort without strain, patience without self-punishment. The monk exhaled as if letting go of months of pressure. A sense of space opened around him. Maybe you've known that pressure, wanting to improve, trying to be perfect at work or at home, pushing yourself harder than anyone else does. Growth doesn't happen by force. It comes from steady kindness toward yourself. For 1 minute, place a hand on your heart and say softly, I'm trying, and that's enough for tonight. Indifferent. Story 22. At Savatthi, a householder named Nakulapita came to the Buddha trembling with fear of sickness and death. He worried constantly about what might happen to his body, his family, his livelihood. The stress lived in him like a shadow that never left. The Buddha reassured him that aging and illness come for everyone. But a peaceful mind can stay steady even when the body changes. The real refuge is not in the body's strength, but in the calm we cultivate inside. Nakulapita felt his breath deepen, the fear loosening its grip. Maybe you've had health worries your own, or someone you love, those long nights of Googling symptoms or waiting for phone calls. Fear shrinks when the heart is steady. Peace doesn't depend on perfect conditions. For 1 minute, rest your hands on your belly and feel each breath rise and fall like gentle waves. Story 23. A young monk once confessed to the Buddha that he struggled with envy. Every time another monk received praise or opportunity, his chest tightened and his thoughts spiraled. He felt ashamed of it, yet couldn't shake the feeling. The Buddha explained that envy fades when we understand that each person's path unfolds at its own pace, like different trees blossoming in different seasons. Another's success doesn't steal ours, it simply reflects their moment to bloom. The monk sighed, embarrassed but relieved. As the tightness eased, maybe you've compared yourself to colleagues, friends, or neighbors' careers, families, homes, savings accounts feeling behind, even when you're doing your best. Comparison drains joy. Your life grows on its own timeline. For 1 minute, imagine your path opening gently in front of you. No rush, no competition, just steady steps. Story 24. A grieving mother once brought her child's ashes to the Buddha, desperate for a way to reverse the loss. Her pain was raw, her eyes swollen from nights without sleep. She begged for help. Unable to accept what had happened, the Buddha sent her to gather mustard seeds from any home untouched by loss. She returned with none, realizing every family carried its own grief. Her heart softened not because the pain vanished, but because she no longer felt alone in it. The Buddha sat with her quietly, letting the truth settle gently. Maybe you've carried your own quiet grief, an old heartbreak, a lost parent, a dream that slipped away. Grief becomes lighter when shared. You don't have to carry it alone. For 1 minute, breathe in gently and whisper, "It's okay to feel this." Let the heart soften around the sadness. Story 25. A monk named Sona practiced with fierce intensity, walking long distances, pushing his body to exhaustion, believing only extreme effort would lead to calm. Eventually, his feet bled, and his spirit cracked under the strain. The Buddha reminded him that a lute sounds beautiful only when the strings are neither too tight nor too loose. The middle path brings strength without breaking, effort without burning out. Sona understood, feeling the relief of letting go of harshness toward himself. Maybe you've pushed too hard, too long hours at work, constant expectations, saying yes to everything, running on fumes. Balance isn't laziness. Balance is wisdom. For 1 minute, imagine loosening the strings of your day by just 1 notch. Feel the ease that follows. Story 26. A wealthy merchant approached the Buddha with a restless mind. Despite his success, he felt empty, always chasing more income, more status, more guarantees. His heart felt like a cup with a hole in it, never full. The Buddha spoke of contentment, the quiet satisfaction that comes from appreciating the simple blessings already present. A mind that stops grasping can finally rest. The merchant felt something warm settle in his chest, like discovering a peaceful room inside himself. he never knew existed. Maybe you felt that endless chase career goals, financial pressure, the feeling that happiness will arrive when things finally work out. And hope and meekern, contentment grows when we pause the chase. Peace is found in what's here now. For 1 minute, think of one small thing today that brought even a hint of comfort. Let it fill the cup. Story 27. A monk named Tissa became ill and withdrew from others out of shame. He worried that his sickness made him a burden, that he should hide until he recovered or disappeared. His loneliness grew heavy. The Buddha visited him, reminding him that no one walks the path alone. Community exists to lift each other, not to judge or discard. His worth was unchanged. Sickness or not, Tissa wept softly as the isolation dissolved. Maybe you felt that too, pulling away when life gets messy, hiding your struggles at work or at home, afraid you're too much. Defend eventually. You are never a burden. You deserve support exactly as you are. For 1 minute, imagine reaching out just in your mind to someone who cares. Feel that quiet connection. Story 28. One day, the Buddha saw a group of monks sitting in dull, low spirits, weighed down by monotony and disappointment. Their enthusiasm had faded, replaced by boredom and doubt. He reminded them that even tending a small lamp requires steady attention. A meaningful life grows from small, consistent acts, kindness, discipline, clarity, not occasional bursts of inspiration. Their eyes brightened a little, realizing they didn't need excitement, only steadiness. Maybe you felt stuck in routine emails, chores, errands, bills, wondering if any of it matters. Small steps create big change. Steady effort shapes a peaceful life. For 1 minute, choose one small thing you'll do tomorrow, with presence just one, and let that be enough. Story 29. A monk once argued constantly, convinced he was always right about doctrine, rules, and practices. His need to win debates left him tense, isolated, and exhausted. The Buddha spoke to him gently, reminding him that wisdom isn't about victory but about understanding. A mind softened by humility can learn. A rigid mind cannot. The monk slowly swallowed his pride, noticing how good it felt to release the need to be right. Maybe you've had moments like that, family disagreements, workplace debates, the stubborn desire to have the last word. Humility brings peace. Being right is not as valuable as being kind. For 1 minute, recall a recent disagreement and imagine loosening your grip on being right. Feel the relief. Story 30. King Pasenadi once arrived before the Buddha out of breath, having overeaten again at a royal feast. He felt bloated, ashamed, and frustrated with his lack of restraint. Knowing his habits weren't serving him, the Buddha offered simple advice about moderation, eating just enough to feel nourished, moving through life with mindful balance rather than indulgence. The king felt his shame lighten into resolve, his breath becoming easier. He realized discipline is a form of self-kindness, not punishment. Maybe you've struggled with habits too: overeating, overworking, overspending, scrolling late into the night. Gentle discipline frees the mind. Small limits bring big comfort. For 1 minute, choose one habit you'll do just a little less tomorrow, not perfectly, just gently. Let that intention soften your night. Story 31. The Buddha was sitting beneath a broad-leafed tree near Vesali, where a soft afternoon breeze carried the scent of warm earth. A merchant approached, shoulders tight, eyes restless from too many nights staring at the ceiling. He worried constantly about profit, competition, and the fear that one wrong move might ruin everything he'd built. He bowed and confessed that his mind never quieted, even when business was good. He feared losing it all, even when his family was safe. He imagined threats that weren't there. The Buddha listened without judgment. He pointed to a clay pot someone had set nearby to cool in the shade. Just as a pot fills drop by drop, he said gently, a mind fills with whatever you keep pouring into it. The merchant felt the truth settle in his chest. His breath eased a little, as if someone had loosened a knot inside him. You might know that feeling waking at 3 a.m., heart racing about things not yet real. Maybe your mind keeps adding one more "what if" until the pot spills over. A simple reminder: you don't need to empty everything at once. Just stop adding today's extra drop of fear. Tonight, place a hand on your chest for 1 minute. Feel the warmth. Let your breath soften. Let one worry stop pouring in. Story 32. On a quiet morning near Rajagaha, the Buddha sat by a dusty road where travelers passed with heavy loads. A young father approached, tired from working 2 jobs and still feeling it wasn't enough. He worried he was failing his children, his partner, and himself. He told the Buddha he felt like he was carrying a boulder on his back every waking moment, responsibility pressing down, exhaustion following him everywhere. The Buddha nodded and looked toward a man setting down firewood at the roadside. When a load becomes too heavy, he said softly, the wise put it down for a while. Ivri, the father blinked, confused. How can I put down my responsibilities? He asked. You rest your back, the Buddha said, so you can carry what matters with steadier hands. Well, something quiet shifted inside the man, like realizing he'd been holding his breath for years. You might feel that too. Working, trying, holding your world together even when your knees shake. Maybe you forget that resting isn't abandoning anything, it's returning stronger. One simple practice. Before sleep, unclench your hands. Just notice how often your body braces. Let the muscles soften, even for a minute. Story 33. At Jetavana Monastery, the sun was sinking low, painting the walls gold. A monk came to the Buddha in frustration. He felt jealous of another monk's praise, skills, and confidence. His chest burned with it, though he hated to admit it. He said it made him feel small and ashamed. The Buddha listened with calm eyes. He pointed to the evening sky, where 2 birds flew, one quick and bright, one slow and dark-feathered. They share the same sky, he said, and neither takes space from the other. Is word, the monk swallowed hard. Understanding slowly washing through him. Jealousy, he realized, was just forgetting he had his own sky to move in. Maybe you felt that sting. Someone else succeeds, and suddenly you feel behind, even if you were fine moments before. It happens quietly, even to good hearts. Remember this: you don't need another person's wings. Yours will carry you where you're meant to go. Tonight, think of one thing you did well today. Nothing grand, just one honest effort. Let that be enough. Story 34. One evening in Savatthi, a farmer hurried to the Buddha, still dusty from the fields. He was furious, Crops failing, neighbors arguing, children acting out, money running thin. He wanted everything fixed. The Buddha listened patiently. The farmer kept listing problems until he ran out of breath. Finally, the Buddha said, "Everyone has 83 problems. Ind B. Re life. Ind as. Da. The farmer frowned. "I only want to solve mine." Insanes. God. The Buddha smiled gently. "There will always be 83. If you solve one, another appears. The relief comes not from fixing them all, but from loosening your grip. We have to doing now time." And the farmer felt something soften, like realizing he'd been wrestling shadows. Maybe you know that feeling, believing peace will come only after every problem is solved. But life doesn't wait for the list to be empty. A small step, before bed. Whisper to yourself, "I don't need everything fixed tonight." Let your breath settle around that truth. Story 35. In a quiet grove near Kosambi, the Buddha sat beneath a mango tree. A widow came to him, trembling with regret. She had spoken harshly to her son. Worn down by stress and fear, her voice cracked as she asked how to undo words already spoken. She wished she could take them back. Erase the moment. Rewrite it. The Buddha picked up a handful of dry leaves and let them fall slowly from his palm. "Yesterday is already on the ground," he said. "You can't lift the leaves back onto the branches, but you can choose where your next step falls." Her shoulders softened. Not perfect peace, just enough space to breathe. You might know this ache, the wish to rewind a moment, undo a mistake, unsay something. Regret is heavy, but it doesn't have to run your life. One gentle practice. Place a hand over your heart and say, "I can begin again tomorrow." Dime. Let the kindness in that settle. Story 36. Near the riverbank at Vaisali, the Buddha sat watching the current glide by. A man approached, overwhelmed by constant overthinking. His mind spun out all-day worries, scenarios, imaginary arguments. He begged for a way to stop the spinning. The Buddha pointed to the river. "When the water is stirred," he said, "the sand rises. When left undisturbed, it clears." The man realized he'd been stirring his mind without pause. You might do this too, turning problems again and again until the water gets cloudy. Sometimes the kindest act is stepping back. Tonight, give yourself 1 minute of stillness. Just sit with your breath without pushing anything away. Let the sand settle on its own. Story 37. In Magadha, at the edge of a small village, the Buddha met a young woman carrying guilt like a stone in her chest. She blamed herself for not supporting her aging parents enough. She felt torn between work, family, and the weight of expectation. The Buddha listened with patient silence. He pointed to a tree where a branch bent heavily under ripening fruit. "A branch cannot carry every fruit," he said. She understood she'd been trying to hold more than one heart could manage. Maybe you've been there too, trying to be everything for everyone. It's exhausting. And it's human. Remember, doing your best counts, even when it doesn't feel perfect. A simple practice. Whisper, "I am doing what I can." And let it land softly in your body. Story 38. At Jetavana, monks gathered around the Buddha at dusk. One monk asked why he felt angry so quickly lately, tiny things setting him off, leaving him embarrassed afterward. The Buddha invited him to hold a cup of water. He tapped the monk's arm lightly, and the water spilled. "Why did the water spill?" he asked. Because you hit my arm, the monk replied. Because the cup was full, the Buddha said. The monk breathed out slowly, understanding. He'd been walking around already full of tension. Maybe you know that feeling, snapping because you're drained, not because the moment was truly big. Tonight, treat your exhaustion with gentleness, not judgment. One simple practice: stretch your jaw, then your hands, and breathe. Make a little more space in the cup. Story 39. At a shaded rest stop along a dusty road, the Buddha spoke with a traveler weighed down by debt and fear. He felt trapped, working endlessly, yet always behind. The Buddha listened to the man's trembling voice. He pointed to a wagon beside them with a cracked wheel. If you keep forcing the journey, he said softly, the wheel will break. But if you slow down, you can mend what carries you. I Fei. The man nodded slowly, realizing he'd been moving too fast to repair the core. You might feel that way too, running until you forget the cost to your body and mind. A gentle step. Place a hand on your belly and feel one full breath. Not forced, just steady. Let it remind you to mend at your own pace. Story 40. In the bamboo grove at Vaishali, the Buddha sat surrounded by evening light. A young monk approached with shame in his eyes. He'd failed at a commitment he'd made and felt unworthy. The Buddha picked up a bamboo shoot. See how it bends, he said. It sways with the wind, but it doesn't break. If you missed it, the monk breathed easier. He realized softness was not weakness. It was how things endure. Maybe you've held shame too, feeling like a single mistake says everything about you. But you're allowed to bend. You're allowed to keep growing. One practice before sleep. Say, I can start again. Let your shoulders loosen around that truth. Story 41. In the monastery at Jetavana, the Buddha sat beneath the long shadows of early evening. A middle-aged householder approached, worn by months of chasing perfection at work and at home. He tried to be flawless, never late, never tired, never slipping. But the strain hollowed him out. He confessed that mistakes terrified him. He feared disappointing others, feared losing respect, feared not being enough. The Buddha listened quietly. He pointed to a row of clay lamps, each giving a warm glow, though none were perfectly shaped. Even an uneven lamp, he said, still lights the dark. The man felt something inside loosen, an exhale he'd held for years. You may know that pressure too. The constant push to perform without flaw. But your worth isn't in perfection, it's in presence. Tonight, let one small thing be imperfect. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath ease into its natural rhythm. Story 42. Near the bamboo grove in Vaishali, the Buddha rested by a small pond where reflections rippled in the breeze. A young artisan came forward, anxious about the future. Orders were slowing, money thinning, and every night he imagined worst-case scenarios. I can't stop thinking about what might happen, he whispered. It feels like I'm living inside storms that haven't even arrived. In toes, the Buddha touched the water lightly. The ripples spread, then stilled again. Fear is like this, he said. It rises, but it doesn't stay unless you keep stirring. Those rate. The artisan felt his breath settle, as if someone dimmed the noise inside him. Maybe your mind also jumps ahead, building stories out of worry. It's human, but storms don't last forever. And not all storms even come. 1. Calming practice. Place a hand over your ribs and breathe until your palm rises gently. Let that be enough for tonight. Story 43. One morning in Rajagaha, the Buddha walked slowly along a quiet forest path. A mother approached, carrying deep exhaustion work, childcare, aging parents, endless obligations. She felt invisible, like her life was swallowed by constant giving. She asked how to keep going when no one seemed to notice her effort. The Buddha paused beside a flowering tree. He pointed to a blossom half hidden in the shade. It still gives its fragrance, he said, even when no one sees it. In Morand, Dan, the mother felt tears rise, soft ones, not painful. Noticing that unseen beauty helped her see her own heart with gentler eyes. You may know this feeling too, doing so much without praise, juggling roles that wear you thin. But your quiet care matters more than applause. Tonight, whisper to yourself, I'm doing well enough. Is now the $25. Let that truth soak in. Story 44. In Savatthi, a wealthy man approached the Buddha while pacing back and forth. He feared losing his fortune, counting his coins every night, guarding them day and night. The worry consumed him. The Buddha listened and then pointed to a tree where a bird pecked freely at fallen seeds. The bird eats what it needs, he said. It doesn't guard more than it can hold. 8. The man felt the first hint of release, like loosening a fist that had been clenched too long. Maybe you've clung to possessions, reputation, or success out of fear they'll slip away. It's exhausting to grip everything so tightly. You don't need to let go of what you've earned, just loosen your hold enough to breathe. A simple practice. Open your hands on your lap and rest them there for 1 minute. Let your body remember what ease feels like. Story 45. At the riverbank near Kosambi, the Buddha sat watching the water drift past. A student approached, frustrated that his temper kept flaring. Every small irritation lit a fire in him. Traffic, co-workers, delays, pressures. He hated feeling this way, but couldn't stop. The Buddha pointed to driftwood moving with the current. When the river pulls, he said, the wood stays afloat by not resisting. In resonance, the student felt a softening inside, realizing he'd been fighting every moment instead of letting it pass. You've likely felt this too, tension rising before you even understand why. Sometimes the kindest choice is to float rather than push. Tonight, unclench your jaw. Let one irritation pass through without catching it. Story 46. Deep in the forest, near Vulture Peak, the Buddha sat as cicadas hummed in the heat. A young monk approached, overwhelmed by constant comparison. He felt he wasn't good enough, not wise enough, not progressing fast enough. The Buddha picked up 2 stones, one smooth, one rough. They both rest easily in my palm, he said. Neither needs to become the other. Indefest, the monk exhaled a quiet, shaky breath of relief. Maybe you've measured yourself against others' 2 careers. Achievements, timing, it steals your peace. Remember this, your path has its own rhythm. One practice, say to yourself, I walk at my own pace. In speaking, let your shoulders relax around that truth. Story 47. In the cool shade of the mango grove at Jetavana, the Buddha welcomed a soldier returning from the field. The man carried guilt and anger in equal measure. He felt haunted by choices he'd made under pressure. He asked how to live with a heart so heavy. The Buddha looked toward the horizon where dusk softened the sky. Even a long night he said softly, gives way to dawn. Is wool. The soldier's breath steadied the first calm he'd felt in weeks. You might know that feeling, carrying something you wish had gone differently. Regret can cloud every corner of your day, but you're allowed to move toward the sunrise. Slowly, kindly. Tonight, place a hand over your chest and whisper, I am learning. Indi, let that be enough. Story 48. At Anatha Pintika's park, the Buddha sat beneath the tall sala trees. A widow came forward, struggling with loneliness and uncertainty about the future. She felt as though she stood on shifting ground every day. The Buddha listened, then pointed to the roots of a great sala tree gripping the soil firmly. What stands tall, he said, begins with what is steady beneath the surface. She realized she'd been focusing only on what felt shaky, not on the strength she still carried. Maybe your life feels unsteady, too, changes at work, shifting relationships, unpredictable days, but quiet strength still lives in you. A simple practice. Breathe deeply into your belly once and feel your spine lift slightly. Let that small steadiness remind you what roots feel like. Story 49. In a quiet corner of the monastery, the Buddha welcomed a tailor whose mind buzzed with endless plans and deadlines. He said he couldn't rest, not even for a moment, because there was always one more task. The Buddha looked at a half-sewn robe folded nearby. It is finished, stitch by stitch, he said. Not all at once. And, quote, the tailor felt something inside him finally unclench. You may know this too, days crowded with obligations, thoughts racing from one task to another, but every life unfolds one stitch at a time. Tonight, tell yourself, just the next step. To bound, let your mind settle around that simplicity. Story 50. Near the forest edge in Savatthi, the Buddha sat beside a small fire as evening settled. A monk approached, feeling deeply discouraged. He had tried so hard to change old habits but kept slipping back into them. The Buddha lifted a small ember with a stick. It cools slowly, he said, but with care, it changes. In the stay, the monk felt hope quiet, steady, believable. You might feel stuck to old patterns returning when you least expect it. But slow change is still change. One gentle practice. Acknowledge one small effort you made today. Not perfection, just movement. Let that warm you like a fading ember. Story 51. In the early morning light at Jetavana, the Buddha sat quietly as the birds began their soft calls. A merchant approached, his face tight with worry. His business was failing, and he feared losing everything he had worked for. He felt ashamed, anxious, and afraid to face his family. The Buddha listened with steady presence. He pointed to a leaf hanging on a branch, yellowing at the edges. It lived its season fully, he said. Now it falls, and the tree grows again. The merchant felt something shift inside. A soft acceptance of life's changing seasons. Maybe your work or finances feel uncertain too, as if the ground is shifting beneath you. Life has its cycles, some expanding, some contracting. You're not failing, you're moving through a season. Tonight, place your palms together and breathe once. Gently, let yourself feel the possibility of new growth. Story 52. At Vulture Peak, the Buddha sat among the rocks, warmed by the afternoon sun. A young father approached, overwhelmed by the demands of raising children while trying to keep up with work. He felt torn in every direction, guilty for never doing enough anywhere. The Buddha looked toward a pair of birds tending their nest. They fly back and forth all day. He said, not to be perfect, but to care. Interester and expectu. Wells. The father's breath softened. He'd been carrying an impossible standard on his shoulders. Maybe you felt that tug of war too, family pulling one way, responsibilities the other. No one can be perfect in both places. Your loving effort already matters more than you think. Tonight, whisper to yourself, I'm doing my best. 8. ATS. ATS. Let your body believe it. Story 53. In Savatthi, the Buddha walked slowly through a shaded courtyard where monks swept the paths. A scholar approached. Frustrated with his own mind, he said his thoughts never stopped spinning rumination, overthinking, replaying conversations. He felt trapped inside his own head. The Buddha led him to a water pot. He stirred the water until it turned cloudy. Thoughts are like this, he said. If you stop stirring, they settle. In Kritik, the scholar felt a deep sigh move through him. You may know this feeling, thoughts looping until they wear grooves in your mind. Sometimes quiet comes not from effort, but from pausing the stirring. Tonight, sit still for 5 breaths and let your shoulders soften. Let the mind settle on its own. Story 54. At Anathapindika's monastery, the Buddha met a woman grieving the loss of a dear friend. She felt heavy with sorrow, unable to focus at work, unable to sleep. She wondered if the ache would ever soften. The Buddha pointed to the sky where clouds drifted across the sun. Even the darkest cloud moves. He said, nothing stays fixed. Ayuva. A tear slipped down her cheek, but her breath grew steadier. The pain was still there, but it no longer felt endless. Maybe you've carried grief too, losses that sit quietly inside your chest. Pain changes shape over time, even when you don't notice. Tonight, lay a hand on your heart for a moment. Let warmth meet your sadness. Story 55. Under the tall teak trees near Rajagaha, the Buddha welcomed a potter covered in clay dust. The man was angry, customers complained. Work was slow, and every small setback felt like a personal attack. He said his temper burned hotter each day. The Buddha held out a clay bowl with a crack along the rim. It still holds what it can. He said, not every bowl is meant to be flawless. Undistended, the man felt his irritation soften into humility. Maybe anger has tightened your chest today. Traffic, co-workers, miscommunications. Most frustrations aren't personal. They're just cracks in the day. Tonight, unclench your stomach, relax your hands, and let one irritation drift away. Story 56. Near the lotus pond in Vesali, the Buddha sat, surrounded by monks. A young woman approached, burdened by jealousy. Her friend had succeeded in business, and instead of joy, she felt small and resentful. She hated feeling that way, yet couldn't stop comparing. The Buddha gestured to the lotus blossoms, some large, some small, some barely opening. Each opens in its own time. He said, none steals from another. It's no arm. Her shoulders loosened, as if she'd been carrying invisible weights. Maybe comparison steals your peace too, watching others advance while you feel stuck. But someone else's season isn't your measure. Tonight, whisper, my path is mine. Very founds, let that bring you ease. Story 57. At the edge of Savatthi, the Buddha sat near a small fire warming the cool evening air. A farmer approached. Exhausted from years of hard labor and family pressure, he felt unappreciated, drained, and unsure how long he could keep going. The Buddha looked at the farmer's calloused hands. "Even the earth rests in winter," he said. "Rest is part of growing." Right, the farmer felt a heaviness lift from his chest. You may also feel overworked, carrying more than anyone knows. Rest isn't a weakness, it's part of your strength. Tonight, sit back against your pillow and let your breath lengthen softly. Give yourself permission to pause. Story 58. In a quiet forest glade, the Buddha met a monk distressed by his own harsh self-judgment. Every mistake felt unforgivable. He pushed himself relentlessly, unable to show himself the kindness he showed others. The Buddha touched a small sapling bending in the breeze. "If the wind were harsh," he said, "it would break." Never. The monk felt the truth settle into him like warm sand. Maybe you speak to yourself in tones you would never use with a friend. Self-kindness isn't indulgence, it's what keeps you from breaking. Tonight, place a hand on your cheek for a moment. Let gentleness return. Story 59. At Jetavana, the Buddha met a bookkeeper troubled by dishonesty at work. He saw colleagues cutting corners and feared losing his job if he didn't go along. The pressure sat like a stone in his stomach. The Buddha lifted a small pebble from the path. A small stone thrown in a pond still makes a clear ripple, he said. The bookkeeper understood one honest act still mattered. Maybe you face pressures too, workplace politics, tough decisions, the fear of standing alone. Integrity can feel heavy, yet it frees the heart. Tonight, breathe once into your belly and let your spine lengthen with quiet courage. Story 60. In the cool shade of a banyan tree, the Buddha welcomed a trader weary from long travel. The man confessed he felt trapped by constant striving, always wanting more, never satisfied. His achievements felt empty the moment he reached them. The Buddha pointed to a traveler's pack sitting at the man's feet. "When you carry too much," he said, "the road feels longer." If you need, the trader felt a slow calm begin to settle. Maybe you've chased goals too, thinking the next achievement will finally bring peace. But peace grows when you lighten the load, not when you add more weight. Tonight, name one thing you can release, just one. Let the night carry it for you. Story 61. At dusk, in Savatthi, the Buddha walked slowly along a quiet path where shadows stretched long. A young monk approached, shoulders tight, frustrated with his own impatience. He wanted to attain understanding quickly, yet the mind refused to settle. Like water splashing against rocks, the Buddha stopped and picked up a small stone from the ground. "See how it sits quietly," he said. "It does not rush, yet it is steady." Nopi. The monk breathed in and out, noticing the tension slowly melting from his body. The mind that sought instant clarity began to soften into calm attention. Perhaps you felt that impatience too, wanting answers to come immediately, wanting peace to arrive overnight. The faster you chase, the further it feels. Steadiness matters more than speed. Understanding unfolds in its own time. For 1 minute, place your hands gently on your knees and simply feel the contact of your body with the floor or chair. Notice the steady presence of yourself in this moment. Story 62. Near the river at Kosambi, the Buddha sat as a fisherman, cleaned his nets nearby. The man's brow was furrowed, weighed down by worry about a poor catch and unpaid debts. He admitted he could hardly sleep, thinking of what might go wrong tomorrow. The Buddha gestured to the flowing river. Water moves forward, he said softly. It doesn't cling to stones, it passes. Neither should you cling to worry. It's not master. Often, the fisherman exhaled, feeling the first real release of tension in days. His chest loosened, his shoulders dropping a fraction, as if the river had carried away some of the weight. Perhaps you've held worry like that tight in the chest, replaying scenarios over and over. Even small release can feel miraculous. Try this for 1 minute. Let your hands rest gently in your lap and imagine your worries drifting downstream, carried away by the current. Story 63. In Jetavana, the Buddha noticed a young woman sitting on a low bench, tense and restless. She admitted she was constantly angry with her siblings, frustrated by small habits and slights that seemed to repeat endlessly. The Buddha offered her a flower from a nearby garden. Look how it bends in the wind, he said. Softness does not mean weakness. It allows movement without breaking. End quote. She held the flower, watching its gentle sway, and felt a warmth spread through her chest. The tight knot of anger slowly loosened. Maybe you felt that irritation too, the small daily conflicts that build weight inside. Gentleness does not excuse injustice. It simply protects your heart. Tonight, breathe into your chest for 1 minute, imagining the tension as a knot slowly untangling. Let your shoulders drop with each exhale. Story 64. A merchant came to the Buddha at Vesali, burdened by fear of losing reputation and wealth. Every minor mistake felt catastrophic, and he feared being exposed as inadequate. The Buddha picked up a small clay pot with a slight crack. It still holds water, he said. Your value is not lost in imperfection. In fact, the merchant exhaled a breath he didn't know he was holding. Even a small crack does not define the whole vessel. Perhaps you feel that way too, afraid a single slip will undo all your efforts. Perfection is not a requirement for worth. For 1 minute, place a hand over your heart and feel the warmth there. Acknowledge your own resilience, just as you are. Story 65. Under the soft shade of a banyan tree, the Buddha met a monk worried about failure. He had tried diligently for weeks to maintain focus during meditation, yet distractions kept creeping in. He feared he was inadequate compared to his peers. The Buddha pointed to a nearby stream, rippling around stones without stopping. Focus moves like this, he said. It bends and flows, but it still reaches the end. End quote. The monk felt a quiet relief in his chest, realizing that small diversions did not erase his effort. The mind could wander and still find the path. Maybe you felt that too, the self-criticism when focus falters or tasks feel overwhelming. Persistence is more important than perfection. For 1 minute, close your eyes and imagine your breath flowing like the stream around stones. Notice how it continues despite small distractions. Story 66. At Anathapintinika's monastery, a young woman came with a restless heart, anxious about family arguments and unspoken tensions. She said the weight of responsibility kept her from sleeping, making her feel small and unseen. The Buddha gestured to a small candle flickering in the twilight. Light shines best in stillness, he said. You cannot illuminate when your mind is in constant motion. Intended, she felt her chest loosen and her shoulders drop, as if the simple gesture of stillness allowed a moment of relief. Perhaps you've carried similar tension, thinking you must fix everything at once. Peace arrives when the heart is still enough to notice it. For 1 minute, rest your hands on your lap and feel your breath move in and out, letting stillness fill the spaces in your chest. Story 67. Near the lotus pond in Vesali. The Buddha noticed a monk, restless and impatient with his own slow progress in practice. He admitted he was frustrated, measuring himself against others and feeling inadequate. The Buddha picked up a lotus seed and placed it in water. Growth takes time, he said. It cannot be rushed. But with patience, it blossoms beautifully. End quote. The monk felt his breath soften, the tightness in his chest slowly melting. You may know that feeling, wanting rapid progress in work, personal goals, or self-improvement. True growth unfolds quietly, often unseen. For 1 minute, place your hands over your belly and imagine yourself growing as steadily as the lotus. No rush, no judgment, only presence. Story 68. At Jetavana, a middle-aged craftsman approached the Buddha, troubled by repeated mistakes at his work. He said frustration made him short-tempered and anxious, and he worried that he would never be skilled enough. The Buddha pointed to a partially completed pot on a table. Even the imperfect pot can serve its purpose, he said. Flaws do not erase value. I do thousand. The craftsman exhaled slowly, feeling the tight knot in his chest loosen. Perhaps you feel the same perfectionism pressing down, making each task heavier than it needs to be. Value exists even in imperfection. Tonight, rest your hands on your lap and whisper, I am enough as I am. O Fent, let the relief sink in. Story 69. In the bamboo grove at Savatthi, the Buddha welcomed a man exhausted by endless decisions. He said, every choice work, home, family, money left him drained, as if life demanded more than he could give. The Buddha gestured to the swaying bamboo. It bends with the wind, he said, but it does not break. The man felt his chest soften, realizing he could bend without failing. Maybe your day feels like that too, constant choices and obligations pulling in different directions. Flexibility protects the heart. For 1 minute, breathe slowly and imagine your spine softening and bending gently like bamboo. Release a little tension with each exhale. Story 70. Near the river at Kosambi, the Buddha sat in quiet shade as a student came with worry about failure and shame. He had tried to help others but often stumbled, and he feared judgment. The Buddha held up a handful of sand and let it trickle through his fingers. Even if some grains fall away, he said, enough remains to build something strong. In fact, as the student's shoulders dropped, the tightness in his chest softening. Perhaps you feel weighed down by mistakes or fear of judgment. Even small, steady efforts create meaningful life. Tonight, place a hand over your heart and breathe gently. Let the soft reassurance of persistence fill your chest. Now, as the hour gently draws to a close, let yourself settle deeper into the soft quiet around you. Notice the weight of your body, how it is held tenderly by the bed or chair beneath you. Allow your hands to rest where they naturally fall, your shoulders softening, your jaw unclenching. You've wandered through the quiet landscapes of your mind, observing the echoes of yesterday, moments replayed, words spoken or left unspoken, decisions that once felt heavy. They are like leaves drifting down a calm river. Each leaf floats along its course, carrying nothing more than itself, leaving the water undisturbed as it passes. Picture the river now, wide and slow, reflecting soft moonlight. Notice how even the currents that swirl and twist eventually find stillness. Let your thoughts be like those leaves, gently moving away from your awareness. You do not need to grasp them, nor push them aside, just let them drift. Remember the candle we visited together. Its flame warm and steady, even when shadows fall across it. It continues to glow softly. Your mind can be like that flame, acknowledging the shadows without being consumed by them. Feel the warmth of that presence resting in your chest. Steady, patient, and quiet. Breathe slowly now, allowing the in-breath to bring a gentle lift, and the out-breath to release anything lingering. Notice the pause at the top of each breath, the pause at the bottom, as if the universe itself is holding its breath with you. There is no need to do anything else, no need to plan, to fix, to remember only this calm, this stillness. Think of the sky above, stretching wide and unending. Clouds have passed through it today, and they will pass again. But the sky remains. So too, your mind has witnessed thoughts come and go. The past, like clouds, has moved across your awareness, and now it drifts beyond the edge of perception. You are left with the vast openness beneath, quiet and infinite. Let the rhythm of your body echo this ease. Feel your feet, legs, hips, chest, shoulders, neck, and head melting softly into the support beneath you. Notice how tension, even the smallest strain, can gently dissolve. There is nothing to hold on to. Nothing urgent calls you now. The day, the week, the worries, they can wait. The ocean comes to mind. Waves lapping at the shore. Each one rises, curls, and falls, returning to the deep. Your thoughts, your stories, your memories, let them follow the same pattern. A wave rises, carries its weight, and flows back into quiet waters. You are safe. You are supported. You are enough. Allow your mind to expand with each breath, as if the space around you is becoming softer, larger, warmer. Even the tiniest parts of yourself, the ones that whispered doubts, regrets, or what-ifs, can be included in this calm. They are not erased, they are simply at rest. Your attention is here, in the soft present, in the gentle awareness of your own body breathing. The moonlight in your imagination pools softly over your shoulders, your arms, your chest. It brushes over your face with the quiet tenderness of a night that does not demand, that does not judge. Everything you have carried today can settle into the night with you. Every thought, every memory, every quiet concern, it can float away. There is nothing more to do. Your work is complete for now. Your effort has ended. You are invited into this moment of stillness, to rest, to soften, to be as you are, light, peaceful, whole. And as you rest here, imagine the gentle rhythm of the universe humming in quiet synchrony with your own breath. Each inhalation bringing calm, each exhalation releasing the weight of all that no longer serves you. Time has no power here, and yet the moment is full of warmth, full of ease, full of the subtle miracle of being alive and present. Let your mind be like the river, the ocean, the sky. Let your heart be like the candle and the moonlight. Let your body dissolve gently into the support beneath you, releasing all effort, all tension, all thought of what has been. Feel gratitude quietly ripple through you, not for anything you have done, not for anything you must do, but simply for this breath, for this body, for this life that continues, quietly, perfectly, in its own way. And now, as your eyes grow heavy, and your mind drifts toward the soft embrace of sleep, let yourself fade into the gentle dark. There is nothing left to hold, only this quiet, only this calm, only this peaceful presence. Sleep now, fully, deeply, weightless. The night holds you, the universe breathes with you, and here, finally, let everything rest.